Hey everyone, and welcome to the Dota 2 Builds of the Week, the weekly series where I show you guys top 5 meta builds to help you get started with new heroes in Dota 2. As always, a link to my Twitch is down in the description below, as is a link to each of the heroes we're talking about today. Today we're getting started with Position 1 Chaos Knight. Chaos Knight recently got buffed to allow him to do additional critical strike damage to creeps, which is actually huge because not only does it allow him to farm faster, but allows him to sustain better with the lifesteal that the crit provides. Long story short, Chaos Knight has come back into the meta in a huge way, and it is a hero that revolves around certain items in order to be successful. Let's talk about his build. So, Chaos Knight, first of all, I should mention, there's a couple different ways to do his skill build. Traditionally, you get a lot of people getting the value point in Chaos Bolt, Reality Rift, and then focusing in on the Chaos Strike. Now, if you are in a lane where you are having a difficult time and you need more sustain, you actually can take the Chaos Strike as 2 and 3 and take Reality Rift at 4. The reason for this is that the additional lifesteal, although it sounds small early on, will actually help to sustain you pretty significantly throughout the early stages of the game. From there, this build, I should mention, also revolves around the utilization of Chaos Bolt. So you're seeing a lot of the talents revolve around that. Chaos Knight's one of the heroes that has like immensely awesome talents that you can choose depending on any game situation. He's one of the few heroes that each talent at every single level has a viable kind of game scenario. So just keep that in mind. With that being said, you are taking as much stats as you can up front with Power Treads into his Soul Ring. Soul Ring's great on CK because Chaos Strike basically nullifies the amount of damage you're taking from the Soul Ring. Into Armlet, there's no way around it. Armlet is such a fantastic item for CK. He heals with its Chaos Strike. You use Armlet, and when you use Armlet into Phantasm, what happens is those illusions get the benefit of the Armlet buff. You're going into Echo Saber and Sanjin Yasha. Some people are even skipping Echo Saber, but it is still a great burst item for him. SNY is an incredible item on him. It gives him everything he needs. As a strength hero, he gets tankier. He also gets additional damage, but he needs that extra attack speed from the 16 agility. But not to mention, he's getting additional movement speed and the lifesteal amplification, which is great for Chaos Strike. From there, his Agnum Shard, which allows you to increase your range of Chaos Bolt. It also creates an illusion that gives vision and does 100% damage to the enemy hero that is hit by the Chaos Bolt. It's awesome. And finally, BKB into Scotty. Scotty tanks up your illusion significantly and makes you basically a major threat. The optional items are excellent as well. Blink Dagger is very common because it allows you to initiate very effectively. And then, you initiate Reality Rift Chaos Bolt. It's fantastic. Actually, the combo is you Chaos Bolt into Reality Rift, so as you pull, they get stunned. Regardless of that, Chaos Knight is back in the meta, and he has been a hero that I've been playing a lot on stream, so definitely come check out our stream if you're interested in seeing him live in action. You know, I almost feel bad talking about Sniper, because I know everyone hates playing against Sniper. Everyone hates having a Sniper on their team because they ultimately end up feeding underfarmed. But ironically, Sniper's actually doing pretty good right now in this patch with a win rate above 50%, which is actually pretty rare for this hero. He usually ends up feeding at all MMRs. He's actually doing pretty good. And so Sniper, we're going to be talking about in mid, and let's get into it. So basically, Sniper, the build is actually one that revolves around your ability to farm from mid. You're taking a value point in headshot early on. It's just good to have as a straight up value point. And then what you're doing is you're focusing in on Shrapnel with a value point and take aim at 4. The Shrapnel is going to allow you to basically do this one simple thing. Take out the entire wave, push it into their tower, and then take your small camp. That's what you're doing with Shrapnel. You're basically farming up as much as you can. You're creating tower pressure on mid while taking the small camp and then coming back, taking the creep wave and pushing it back into tower, okay? As Sniper, you don't want to static the lane at the tower. You actually want to push it as aggressively as you can. With that being said, his build revolves around being very active as a fighter early on. Double Wraithband into Power Treads into Dragonlance. Now, what really puts the icing on the cake that you are an immediate skirmisher is this Deso. Now, this is kind of like a niche build that some of the pros are doing right now. You're going Deso because it scales very well with kills, and as a sniper, you tend to get a lot of kills, especially with your Assassinate. Essentially, what you're doing is you're basically going to ramp up this Deso. You're going to be an early kill threat. You're going to be just you want to end the game by 30 minutes. Like, that's your goal as a mid sniper with this build. Then you go into Hurricane Pike and Silver's Edge because invisibility is invincibility in lower MMRs. Obviously, you have alternate items depending on the game situation. If you are against a PA, maybe you consider something like a Butterfly. Butterfly is kind of niche on something like Sniper because if they're on top of you, you're probably dead anyways. But regardless, you often see the Maelstrom into Mjolnir builds against like PLs and illusion heroes like Nagas. But realistically, right now, it's this Deso build that is pretty unique. And it's all revolved around doing as much damage as you can as early as possible to end the game as fast as possible. In position 3 off lane, Sand King is absolutely out of control right now. He is extremely strong at all points of MMR, and his utility and his kit makes him an absolutely fantastic choice no matter what the game scenario is. He's a hero that has so much potential, so much utility, and has a kit that just simply helps you win games. Let's talk about him. Now, there's a couple things you need to know. Now, there's so many different ways to build Sand King, and I actually did a full complete beginner's guide on Sand King, which I'll link up above if you're interested in seeing that. But like, what you need to know is that there is an extremely variable way that you approach the lane. For instance, if you're against like a Ogre Magi and an Anti-Mage, 2 melee heroes, you actually want to take Cossack Finale first because of the amount of damage it does, and it prevents them from trading into the lane. If you are against a ranged hero, ranged heroes like Medusas and like an AA or something, then you probably take a bit of a balance, right? Maybe even focus in on Sandstorm and Burrow Strike only. So his laning situation really determines what his skill build is. That's why I recommend the beginner's guide video I linked above. But regardless of that, this is kind of like a standard build. If you're not sure what to do, this is kind of like a good starting point for beginners. Regardless, right, you're taking 1 point into Burrow Strike. The stun is just simply too valuable. You're taking the Cossack Finale, which allows you to basically prevent them from stepping in the lane, allows you to create a lot of tower pressure. And Sandstorm is just like your bread and butter early on. It's so good for you. It basically punishes them for stepping in. It forces them to bring vision, so it helps you kind of like, you know, it really helps you to kind of solidify the laning stage. It helps you take stacked camps. It helps you, you know, cut waves. It does everything for you that you need to do. From there, you are going double bracer in the current iteration of the build. A lot of pros are building double bracer into arcane boots, into his Aghanim Scepter. Now, there are 2 primary builds to go for Sand King. I like this one if you're new to him. The double bracer into his Aghanim Scepter. It basically increases the range of Burrow Strike significantly, and the reason for this is because you can almost use it like a blink dagger that can never be canceled. Okay. So when you're learning this hero, you'll often find yourself holding a blink dagger and then getting like incidental damage and not being able to initiate with your epicenter, because epicenter has to be channeled before you blink, because you can't blink in then epicenter, because then you'll just die. You have the epicenter then blink. But players often find themselves out of position, taking incidental damage, and then they waste their epicenter. So if you're brand new to the hero, I recommend you take the Aghanim Scepter first, because it can never get canceled, because your Burrow Strike will basically be like a blink dagger. You epicenter into Burrow Strike and you're doing a ton of damage. And then you, of course, need the Lotus Orb in order to dispel any dust from you. The second build-up is pretty similar, except you're doing your Ring of Health into a Vanguard with your Blink Dagger, which allows you to blink after Epicenter, and then it allows you to Burrow Strike as well. It is ideal. And then from there, you're taking the Eul Scepter of Divinity to allow you to dispel dust and things like that. It functions the same as a Lotus Orb. Regardless, SK is in a fantastic spot right now. He's a hero you've got to try if you play off lane. In position 4, we're talking about Skywrath Mage for a very particular reason. There's a new build out right now that's like borderline a complete meme, but I wanted you guys to see it because it's actually pretty effective. A lot of pros are trying it, and I know you guys like trying fun stuff, so here we are. Basically, Skywrath Mage actually has a very consistently high win rate across all MMRs. He's honestly doing really good this patch. He has been a consistent position 4 for a very long time, and that continues now, except now we've got a new build to talk about, so let's get into it. So basically, the skills are as they've always been, and also I did do a complete beginner's guide to Skywrath Mage, which I'll link up above if you're interested in learning about him from the complete get-go. And that guide spoke about his main item progression, which was this. This is a traditional Skywrath Mage, double null into Rod of Ados, Tranquil Boots, Aether Lens, Aghanim Scepter. That's like the traditional build, okay? But the new meme build with the new E-Blade is 4 null talismans, okay? And yes, I know, it's crazy, but trust me, this is what's happening. 4 null talismans, Arcane Boots, Aether Lens, Tranquils into the E-Blade. Kaya first, obviously. What's interesting about this is that the E-Blade provides an 80% slow, okay? That's the part that makes this really interesting with the spell amp, with the regen amplification. It's insane. So what you do is, instead of using an Ados to like lock someone in place, what you're doing is you're actually hitting them with your E-Blade, which basically slows them by 80%, which is incredible. And then you hit them with Mystic Flare anyways. So it is it's like, instead of going the Ados, you're actually going E-Blade, and you're doing a ton of burst damage up front because of your primary attribute being intelligence as a Skywrath Mage. You're hitting them with a ton up front, and then you hit them with all the burst at once. It is an insane item on Skywrath, and it's truly fantastic, and that's the build that most pros are going. It's expensive, right? It's expensive, 4,600, but if you consider it, it is double the cost of Eidos, but like it's doing an immense amount of damage up front. So anyways, this is the new meme build I wanted to bring to your attention because I know you guys like trying new fancy pants stuff. This is the new fancy pants Skywrath build. Position 5 support. If you've been playing Dota lately, you've noticed that Undying is super strong right now. He's already seen nerfs because the zombies were doing like an insane amount of damage to people. They had to nerf the zombie damage. And then guess what? We have discovered that the zombies are still doing an insane amount of damage. And so as a position 5, what you're doing is you're literally just running into fights. You're diving towers. You're dropping tombstone. Like the zombies do work. You're eating tons of damage. You're being as tankable as possible. But you are being a team fight menace. And that's what Undying does really well. The build up, okay, you're taking 1 value point in Decay, Tombstone into Soul Rip, value point in Decay and Soul Rip. Then you're focusing in on the Tombstone. You're going to be focusing on Tombstone basically all the way across the talent tree as well. It is your bread and butter for team fighting. And basically you take fresh Golem, you run into the fight, you drop the Tombstone in a good spot, and you tank as much damage as you possibly can while trying to do as much damage as you possibly can. Okay? He is all about being disruptive, and he's being very effective at that. The main item progression, this is where it changes with the latest patch. You're going Tranquils into Ring of Basilius because you need the mana regeneration. Into a wand. A lot of players might skip the wand, but remember, you're a frontlighter, you're going to be eating tons of damage. The amount of times that Undying just eats and absorbs spells, which is a good thing because, you know, it's not being casted on your position 1 or 2, is frequent. And this magic wand will be at 20 nearly all the time, and it's a huge burst of health and mana, and it basically allows you to sustain in these longer fights. But really, you're going bongo boots. You're going the drums of endurance, which gives you the added strength. And finally, you're getting your boots of bearing because it's great in Undying because you're right in the middle of the fight. There's so many times you're getting hit with slows and you're getting hit with like tons of just garbage, right? And the Boots of Bearing lets you kind of move into position to drop the Tombstone and wreak havoc. So it also honestly benefits your team, of course. But realistically, right now, the way Undying is being played is you dive into the fight, you drop Tombstone, and you just cause problems until you die. You die. But your carries will be the ones to ultimately survive and win the game for you. So that's kind of the way Undying is being played right now. He has an excellent win rate. He is super fun to play right now because he's just so strong, especially with the Tombstone and the zombies. They might get nerfed even more. So get the games in while you still can. Thank you so much for watching, and a very special thank you to all of our wonderful subscribers. We'll see you in the next Dota 2 video.